This is Junior Secondary School Buzunkuri Peggy, Kuje Area Council of Abuja, where the entire school structures have 3 blocks of toilet. None is used by the pupils as the school authority put the toilet on the lock and key. One of the toilet buildings is dilapidated. The second is used by female teachers, while the third meant for female students is locked, forcing over 600 junior secondary school female students to relieve themselves in the bush within the school premises. At the LEA Primary School Buhari Area Council, over 700 pupils shared this dilapidated toilet. You would recall that the AD4 TV radio visited and featured LEA Primary School Buzunkuri and Junior Secondary School Buzunkuri, as well as a Senior Secondary School Topechi, all in Kuje Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory, in its year 2022 Leaves and Worms episode. Then, we reported challenges of shortage of classrooms, lack of perimeter fencing, poor toilet facilities, shortage of furniture for pupils and students of the schools. All of these challenges to quality learning at the basic and post-basic education level of schools in FCT were reported under the episode titled Poor Infrastructure, Bane of Education. 2 years after, specifically in this third year of Leaves and Worms program of AD4 TV radio, sponsored and supported by Wale Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism and Mercator Foundation, it is crucial to report that these schools now have new blocks of classrooms built by the Universal Basic Education Board of the FCT, though some of these existing classrooms in appalling conditions are still put into use by the school authority, while most of the newly built classrooms are not put into use and are completely on the lock.
In the early 90s, Nigeria got it wrong on investing in basic education. Yes, we have the Universal Basic Education Act that stipulates funding, dedicated first-line charge funding, that also provide this funding to states with counterpart funding to access and invest in infrastructure, in hiring teachers, and ensuring that basic education is at its best across Nigeria. So today, when you look at the 36 states in the FCT, some states are doing well in providing counterpart funding and accessing these resources. The fact that I say they're doing well in accessing it does not mean they're doing well in utilizing it. Because I know that, for instance, Adamawa State is now accessing 2020-2021 and implementing their action plan using these resources. But interestingly, when you take a trip, just 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometer trip away from the capital, what you see is dilapidated building. Sometimes this building, there are no roof, no access to wash facilities, so no toilets, no water. So what it means is if there's a girl going to that school, anytime she's on her menses, she would lose 3 to 6 days important class. So for me, my assessment is basic education is not doing well. Today, that's why you have parents not even sending their kids or their wards to public primary school. When you look at data, states are accessing this money, but when you go on the ground, the releases is not commiserable to what you find on the ground. For me, 1, corruption is a big part of what is responsible. 2 is the fact that nobody is looking at the implication of the fact that we're not investing in Nigeria's future. So today, I can speak to you because there was a deliberate investment in my basic education. Because for everybody who is successful, it means the foundation was solid. And basic education is the foundation of every child. So the leaders that we have today do not see investing deliberately in basic education as the future of Nigeria. Because if we don't get it right with basic education, the child would not be able to assimilate knowledge in secondary and in university. So it is just sad and unfortunate that we have crops of leaders that don't see basic education as a priority and as an investment for our future. So the case of the FCT is interesting because the budget of the FCT is passed by the Senate. It is only the FCT that does not have a legislative arm or an independent legislative arm. The 36 states have the State House of Assembly, but the FCT's case, it is the Senate that provides oversight or approves their budget, and then the FCTA implements this budget. That alone is a gap because it does not provide a framework for legal and regulatory and any form of transparency and accountability. So that's why today you hardly find publicly available information about appropriation and releases of intervention or basic amenities in the FCT.
Making public school, especially at the basic level, very, very attractive is very simple. We have the resources. We have what it takes to make sure that our children are being protected. But because of corruption, wickedness, greed, nonchalant attitude of it is not my own, my child is not there, whatever that happens to those children is not my business. That is what is keeping us here. How much does it cost to do a perimeter fence? If an allocation like for UBEC funding, states supposed to put in their own counterpart fund before UBEC puts their money. Unfortunately, what most states are doing, immediately they put their own 5% counterpart fund in the account, and UBEC brought their own. They take the whole money, and nobody will account for it. Nobody will sanction them until when that state governor leaves the office. It doesn't make sense. You must account for the money you are giving to make sure that all these infrastructures, building fences, making sure that these children have toilets, making sure that there is enough wash facilities in the school. It has been budgeted and this money has been given to you. So even if all is not given to you, can you account for the little that was given to you? But no, in our own case, these people will sit down, eat the cow, eat the aboki, and also eat the rope, and nobody is talking. It is so alarming. If there's going to be a law that states that if so amount is given to you for education, if you default, this is what is going to happen to you instantly. Because you know, every other sector is embedded in education. If we get the education system in Nigeria right, I put it to you that every other system will be fine.
Sonye anyị n'ileba anya na ọtụtụ mpụ na nrụrụ aka jupụtara na ụlọ akwụkwọ gọọmenti ndị nọ n'isi obodo Naijiria bụ Abuja, tụmadụ ka o si metụta mmụta na agụmakwụkwọ n'ogo dịgasị iche iche n'ebe ụmụntakịrị nwoke na nwaanyị nọ, ndị ntorobịa, ụmụ nwaanyị tinyekwara ndị nwere nkwarụ. Sonye ihe emereme Leaves and Worms na AD for TV Radio, ebe a na-eleba anya ma na-atụgharị atụmatụ gọọmenti dịgasị iche iche ka o siri metụta isiokwu a akpụ n'ọnụ. Na-esonyere anyị n'ihe emereme akwa izu ụka ọbụla n'akara mgbasa ozi anyị niile. Ọ bụ AD for TV Radio na njikọ aka Wolen Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism tinyekwara MacArthur Foundation kwadoro ma hụ maka nke a.
We love AD for TV Radio.
We are not okay.
What are you not okay about?
Because some of the students, when they enter into the toilet, they don't used to flush and they don't used to wash it steady.
Why don't they wash it? Is it that there is no water?
No, there is water. The problem is from the students. We have about 4 toilets.
4 toilets. How many classes do you have in this school?
Just one, we have A to E.
A to E?
Yeah.
Just 2?
A to D.
Just 3?
A to D.
And all of them are using these 4 toilets?
Yes.
Do you feel there is a need for government to build more toilets in your school?
Yes, we are in need of more toilets.
We don't have enough toilets for the pupils too. We have one block that even need renovation again. School donated one, school built one, then the PTA, they donate one also for us, about 4 small rooms inside, and it's uncompleted. But in our PTA they agreed to do it. They only do it halfway. It's not completed up to now. This them again. So pupils need toilets.
We need more toilets than water. We have about 1 block, 4 units of toilets. We need more.
For the likes of Deborah and her colleagues, there is so much government and relevant stakeholders can do to enable them avoid 40 days of absenteeism in school.
They should also educate boys on it, because sometimes you feel embarrassed about it, or if the guys find out they are on, they make you feel. So I think they should be able to, tell them that they shouldn't stigmatize us for this. Like, it's part of us. It's a natural occurrence, So in this kind of situation, they should help us and not make us feel bad for it.
Challenge you also face with the FCT is the constitutional architecture of Nigeria, which makes FCT sit as if it's just in the middle of nowhere. What I mean by that is Section 299 of the Constitution says FCT should be treated as if it is one of the states. So the authorities in FCT, for instance, can argue about counterpart funding for basic education, because every other state has its quota from UBEC, can access UBEC and have counterpart funding, And now these schools we talk about, these schools are in the communities of the original inhabitants of, Abuja. They are the ones whose children attend the schools. And so if you already marginalize the original inhabitants politically, marginalize them economically, culturally, what you then find out is something as basic as education. They will also be marginalized. They will also not have enough funds to be able to cater for their schools, whether you talk about the maintenance of the schools or building of new schools. The marginalization of the Abuja original inhabitant, because we're talking about the FCT, and the analysis you talked about, nature of schools. If you go to the FCC, which is the Federal Capital City, all of these parts where we are in, all these well-paved parts, you see that schools are they are well off. They are well resourced, they have teachers, the school buildings are. But where you have these problems, you talk about dilapidated schools, schools that can pass for dump sites, where people, you understand, they are in the rural communities. So you have to make that distinction between the urban FCT and the rural areas where the locals, where the original people who have the city live. And that is where you do have schools that are not well resourced. You have schools that are dilapidated. You have teaching that is poor. The teaching outcomes are terrible.
Most worrisome is the poor state of the toilet facilities in these schools. Pupils and students say these poor toilet facilities have negative impact on their academic performance. They said inadequate sanitary facilities sometimes lead to the absenteeism from classes. An authority of the school who partly conducted our crew round the school's toilet building confirmed that inadequate toilet facility is a major problem that still faces the school. Unlocking the toilet for our crew, this female teacher told us that the authorities locked the toilet buildings due to the open defecation of the students on the floor. A GS2 student of the school, Diane Abraham, confirmed that students mostly return home in between classes to relieve themselves, following the fact that most of the pupils live in the neighborhood of the school.
You see some defecates, you see some people urine and they did not flush. Sometimes you see the menstrual flow of blood on the floor sometimes. The toilet building is not okay. To me, it's not okay because many people are running from the toilet. They are always going to other places to ease with themselves instead of using the toilet. And the toilet is not good enough.
Apart from guaranteeing hygiene and good health, the presence of toilets in schools, especially for girls, encourages school attendance, while the reverse encourages dropout.
Ẹ darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lórí ètò Leaves and Works lórí ẹ̀rọ rédíò AD for TV radio bí a ó ṣe máa fojú lámẹ̀yìntàn wo àwọn ìwà ìbàjẹ́ lórí ètò ẹ̀kọ́ ní gbogbo ẹ̀ka ètò ẹ̀kọ́ ní àwọn ilé ìwé ìjọba tó wà nílùú Àbújá tí ń ṣe olú ìlú orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà àti ipa irúfẹ́ ìwà ìbàjẹ́ náà máa ń kó lórí àwọn ọ̀dọ́mọdébìnrin ọ̀dọ́mọdékùnrin àwọn àkàndá ènìyàn àwọn obìnrin àti ọ̀dọ́ lápapọ̀. Bákan náà lórí ètò yìí a ó tún máa ṣàgbéyẹ̀wò nípa àwọn ètò ìlànà ìjọba tó ṣe pàtàkì àti ipa tí wọ́n ń kó lórí àwọn olùgbé ìlú Àbújá. Ẹ fojú sọ́nà bí a ó ṣe máa jẹ̀gbádùn ètò alárinrin yìí lọ́sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀. Ilé-iṣẹ́ AD for TV radio pẹ̀lú àjọṣepọ̀ ẹ̀ka ilé-iṣẹ́ Wọlé Ṣóyínká lórí ètò ìròyìn ìwádìí ló ṣe atọ́kùn ètò yìí pẹ̀lú ìrànlọ́wọ́ àjọ MacArthur Foundation.
2018 National Personnel Audit Report on Public and Private Basic Education Schools in Nigeria, conducted by the Universal Basic Education Commission, revealed that 50% of public primary schools in Nigeria have no toilets. The report also included public schools in the FCT on the list of schools with 40% schools with toilet facility in Nigeria. Toilets are, however, considered as one of the facilities that contribute to the creation of child-friendly schools. On its official domain, the Universal Basic Education, in its disbursement chart of matching grants to states between 2005 and 2023, revealed that over 2,600 million naira was allocated to the FCT administration to support the compulsory education in the first 9 years of a child's life. The administration of the FCT, though, is yet to assess the 2023 matching grant from the Commission, while that of 2022 is a sum of 1,204,452,353 naira has been recorded as disbursed by the Universal Basic Education Commission to the administration of the Federal Capital Territory. Meanwhile, a document titled FCT 2023 Statutory Appropriation, as presented to the National Assembly, indicated no cost on public basic and post-basic schools in the FCT. As this edition of Leaves and Worms seeks to find out the 2022 and past years' intervention funds were expended, the Executive Director, Youth Watch Initiative Africa, speaks to this.
Why we have a lot of corruption in Nigeria is because the citizens are doing less in terms of working with the government. Because if the citizens are close to the government, the citizens will always remind government of their responsibility. They will always remind them of their tax. But imagine when I'm a director in charge of WASH in a department, educational department, and nobody comes to ask. Nobody comes to make a demand about reports, about what we do in the educational institutions, and at the end of the year, I'm seeing more than 10 billion naira there left for me, or 1 billion, nothing to do. Then the next year, then definitely that person will start getting tempted to steal the money. That's where corruption comes. But if people come, if there is a monitoring and reporting system, effective monitoring and reporting system, then we'll have less corruption and we'll have.
Meanwhile, one of the authorities in junior secondary school Buzunkure, Peggy Kuji Abuja, has called on the Federal Capital Territory Administration not to underestimate toilet facilities in school. He called for renovations of existing toilet blocks and building of new ones. He said this would go a long way in retaining students in schools.
Recently, we had a blown up roof in the other block there. The FCT said that repair the blown off just for a while because the roof, the woods inside are rotting. So it's just temporary. At times when it rains, even after the school, I'm not comfortable. My thought is always here. How will it be? The student was learn, but under that condition now, it is season now. The moment the roof is off and it's raining, there's no how we can have a learning effectively taking place in that kind of situation. The issue of additional block of classrooms, provision of the perimeter fencing, and provision of computer lab, library, Omicron's lab, the science and technology lab is the building at the other side, but is not equipped. We don't have adequate furniture for the students. The situation where a desk is meant for 2 students, but 3, 4 students are on top. You can see the convenience right in there. It's not there.
We have shortage of classrooms. The promise to come on, do the first. In fact, they promise to do together with that of junior schools to be in one FCT authority. And you know, they are the one that own the school, despite the local government this thing. So, and even the class, the number of the people who are the class, in class, about 40 in the class, and we have 1 to 6. So all these problems, they are aware, and we are expecting them, of course. And even the playing space is not there, and that is as a result of the environment we find ourselves. This environment was called for in school, primary school, but at the end of the day, senior, junior, primary occupied it. So 3 of these schools lack space. We have library, but not equipped.
Around Abuja today, especially the public schools, you realize that even in the high-brow areas, such as the FCT and Jabi and many other places, you'll be worried. The dilapidated structures housing these pupils, and when you look at it, huge budgets on yearly basis are churned out for the renovation, building, and making infrastructure very conducive. But works are not carried out. Why is it so? It's because people are not doing their job. Go around the FCT, the buildings are collapsing, the roof collapsing, basic facilities, common ones like the blackboard, modern, they are no. So the state of our educational infrastructure it's not up to it at all.
So what do I think is responsible for it? Well, I think there are 3 major things responsible for it. The first one is poor budgeting. Year in, year out, there's been advocacy in regards to increased budgeting for education, and which we've not gotten, satisfying response to over the years. And the second one is the poor culture of maintenance. So even the few infrastructures that used to be in place are poorly maintained. So you go to schools and are getting worn out, there are no replacement, shares desks get spoiled, and you go to a so-called computer laboratory and you see that all the computers there are not functioning because there are no maintenance. The maintenance culture is really bad. Of course, it's the issue of corruption, which is endemic.
Basic education is something that every country that really wants to achieve a robust development need to put their time, their energy, and invest, because that is the beginning of formation of every human being. Unfortunately, Nigeria is playing lip service with the future of this country, which is not accepted. Now, for Nigeria to truly enjoy a robust and quality education that will lead to national development, anything short of UNESCO recommendation as amplified in the Abidjan principle is not acceptable. They are projecting 15 to 20% of the total budget of the country to be allocated to basic education, because if we're able to get the foundation right, we'll be able to achieve education 2030. And looking at Sakefa content, where we advocate for ensuring that every Nigerian child, irrespective of your gender, your ethnicity, has access to free, safe, inclusive education. So this budget allocation is very, very key. That if government really wants to be truthful and do the right thing, they should adhere to that principle of increasing the budget of basic education from 15 to 20%.